Going into Daredevil Born Again, I had my concerns, whether it was going to be Disney-fied too much to where it kind of took away from the actual impact that the initial show had on Netflix. But I was shocked to say that I was surprised to see that they actually ended up keeping the same feel and tone from the Netflix series into this, with a few minor changes and a few enhancements if you want to go that route. Overall, as a whole, aside it being different, obviously it has a different feel. I mean, it's hard to explain, where it maintains the same tone, sure, and it still feels like Daredevil. You got the same characters still, but there was something about it that made it seem just different. It's really, I don't know how else to explain it, but hopefully throughout the video, we'll get into that a bit more and touch on a few details on that. So as we open up in episode 1 of Daredevil Born Again, we get the nostalgia feel. The very first scene is just shots of the city, and even in the very seconds of the scene opening up, it literally opens up the screen. The aspect ratio of the screen kind of opens up as if we're opening our eyes for the first time. We've been blinded for years waiting for something to happen here with these characters, and finally, after years, after what, like 10 years or so, give or take, we finally get opened up to this new world with characters that we're familiar with. We have Matt Murdock, Karen Page, and Foggy Nelson, the three back together again for what time we have of this first episode, because it did start out pretty hot and heavy. Sure, we get a few kind of meta, fourth wall breaking lines from the team, from the group, basically saying that, remembering the past, but looking forward towards the future, just like the fact that it's been, a while since we've seen these characters, but we hope that they have a better future moving forward, that kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of an interesting nod. Seeing our old friends again was exciting, just to kind of be reunited with them. Seeing them as happy as they are, as happy as we left them at the end of season 3, basically they started their new law firm. It's the three of them, all their names are on the plaque. So it's like, okay, we're kind of in a way picking up where we left off, although some time has passed in the sense of the show as well. In pure Daredevil fashion, we get the one shot really early in the series. We get it right after our boy Foggy Nelson takes one to the chest, gets shot by Bullseye, who comes into play very quick. And at the same time, yes, I'm kind of bracing myself for something happening because things are too good to be true. So I knew it was coming, but just not in this way and this quick. In previous seasons, the one shot, they either happened a few episodes in or towards the end of the season. I know that with season 1, it was in episode 2, I think it was called Cutman. That one, that was the one that started it all. That was the hallway scene, the infamous hallway fight. But with this, the bar fight, it wasn't as clear and as practical as the other ones from the Netflix series. By meaning, you can tell where CGI is coming to play a bit more, where a lot of the stuff that took place in the Netflix stuff, it was a lot more practical. There was hardly any CGI that I can recall that was included in those. So that's part of the feel that I got, the difference rather, that I got from watching this right off the jump with Daredevil Born Again. However, we get the one take, and it is chaotic, it's dark, so it's hard to see what's going on, but I think that's part of the tone or the feel that they were going for, where right out the gate, we get this conflict, and Foggy's shot, so we're all just freaking out, like, oh, just on that alone. On top of that, Daredevil's, putting boot to ass with Bullseye in the bar, and you can't see what's going on. People are getting hit with, what are they called? Freaking pool balls and weapons and knives, and Daredevil's getting pinned with knives left and right. So a lot is happening. People are getting hurt. At the same time, you get Daredevil focusing in and checking in on Foggy to see if he's still breathing, still alive, or checking in on him while he's fighting Bullseye, which is kind of distracting. So Bullseye kind of uses that to his advantage. All of that to say that, yeah, we are starting off this series where Daredevil is no longer Daredevil. He's just Matt Murdock, the lawyer, the blind lawyer. Now, my thoughts on Matt all throughout the series, it was really interesting because I like to see. We like to see our heroes fall just to see them rise up again to a higher place, a higher state. So to see Matt broken down after episode 1 and then him slowly building himself up throughout the season was an interesting take. And I gotta say, there's not a whole lot of Daredevil in it. If you really think about it, if you dial back all the episodes where he does show up, it's just the first episode, and then a few episodes in, then he kind of makes an appearance. So it's not a lot of Daredevil, but it's the sense of it's not just about Daredevil. It's Matt Murdock battling his true nature as Daredevil and fighting his way back to that place. So we're getting a lot of Matt really fighting his instinctual belief to be himself, basically fighting himself in a sense, battling his inner demons because he found out that that's too much pain that it causes everyone else, including him. But he also realizes later on in the middle of the series that the way he's trying to go about things still doesn't work. He's trying to do things by the book. He's trying to find justice within the bounds of the law. And he finds out in different instances where it's just not enough. The people are corrupt, the cops are corrupt, the laws and how they abuse it are corrupt. Even by going by the book, going through the courts, trying to get these people taken care of. There's the one guy who tried to steal caramel corn. And yeah, Matt just was going back and forth with him, but at the end of the day, the guy tried to do everything he could to stay out of the system, and only to find himself in a worse place even by following the rules. So it was just like, okay, Matt, this way, albeit good intentions, it's not working. Especially with now Fisk being mayor of New York, which that kind of starts out the season pretty hot, with Daredevil no longer being Daredevil, just sticking to Matt, and then Kingpin running for office as mayor and ending up winning. So let's get into that. With Fisk, we're coming off of, I believe it was Echo the last time we saw him, after him recovering from getting shot in the face by Echo in Hawkeye. And so Vanessa's kind of been running things in the background, Vanessa being Kingpin's wife. And she's kind of embraced the role as the Kingpin of crime. So she's been running around with different organizations within New York, within Hell's Kitchen, organizing crime, laundering money, things like that, just really making a killing off of it and enjoying it. You get the sense that she's really embraced the role as this overseeing head of this organization, and she doesn't want to give it up, because when Fisk walks in and wearing gray, that's kind of a metaphorical way of saying that Fisk at this time, at least to us, is morally gray. Don't really know where he stands, but we're getting the sense that he actually does want to fight for the city, for the peace of the city, and wants to protect it and wants to lead it. And so when he walks in, the people clear the room except for Vanessa, but there's still inklings of the true Kingpin, even in those moments where he's going to run for office, he's already got votes. So things are kind of moving in that direction, and eventually he ends up winning. But all throughout, just like Matt, and that's the thing, that's a very theme staple that is going throughout the entire season, is that Matt and Fisk are two halves of the same coin, or two sides of the same coin, where they're both battling or fighting against who they really are. And seeing the duality between what Matt goes through and what Fisk goes through on their journey in this way is very fascinating and well done and well shot, I'll say that. And the difference between that aspect and how it was shot here in this series versus the Netflix series, I felt a difference. There was a lot less, if you think about it, a lot less going on in Born Again versus the other ones, where they had a lot of different story or different plots going on, different plot lines happening at the same time that all came to a head at some point throughout the series. Whereas this, it was very focused on Matt and Fisk, their journey and their journey from abstaining from who they really are versus returning to who they truly are, with a few characters sprinkled in. But at the same time, I felt like there was a lot more focus on those two characters, and the other characters that were in Born Again were kind of, I don't want to say not shoehorned in, but they were not given as much impact or significance as Matt and Fisk. I mean, of course, it's about them, but the other series, to me anyway, found a way to make those other characters seem a bit more important. I don't know, that's an opinion, and that may be kind of a stretch for you all, but that's what I felt. Like, I felt like the focus was just really magnified on those two characters versus the other ones that are involved compared to the other series that we're coming from. Speaking of other characters, we have a lived-in universe at this point. We've acknowledged that this is the same universe that the Avengers are part of. Spider-Man is briefly mentioned in here, so it's not just about Daredevil in the city of New York. Kingpin's trying to outlaw vigilantes, so there are other heroes in the city. One of them being White Tiger, which is a very obscure hero that not a lot of people know about. No, he's no Spider-Man, he's no Batman, he's no, you say White Tiger and he's like, who's that, So they included White Tiger, which was a cool take, but I wish I got more of them. We only saw that one very small scene on the TV at the bar before Foggy gets shot, defending the bodega, but he ends up getting arrested because he's defending someone he thought needed help, but it was actually the corrupt cops trying to hustle down a guy or an informant of some sort, and he ends up going to court or going to jail, and that's where Matt steps in to try to save him. But not long after that, we basically get a drawn-out law or courtroom drama with just trying to defend Hector Ayala and get him out, and they win, but he eventually gets murked by one of the Punisher wannabe cops. So with all that said, with White Tiger, I really wanted to see more because they actually acknowledge the aspect of mysticism in this universe, where they talk about his amulet, that it gives him superpowers and it gives him enhanced strength and abilities. I wanted to see more of that in this already grounded universe, now being included into a universe that's more fantastical. And I wanted to hear more about that. They also did mention, speaking of the guy with the caramel corn, the guy he mentioned Skrulls. So it's like, oh my gosh, someone acknowledged the fact that there have been Skrulls pretending to be other people, that actually happened and was acknowledged. So these things have happened. They've seen things. They've seen the Avengers. They've seen people in action. So it would have been nice to see within the filter and film of, not film, but the filter of Daredevil, Born Again, to see the fact that these things actually do happen and we're seeing it through the lens of Daredevil. With other characters, one that was really teased a lot through the trailers was Muse. Now Muse, I was so excited to see Muse make an appearance in the trailers when we were starting to get, more news about the show before it came out. And I'm very actually upset of what we did get, which was very little. I was hoping that he'd play a bigger part in the show, and now thinking back on it, it's like, okay, what was the point? He didn't really, what was the point? Like he painted a bunch of paintings in blood, which was messed up. The character of Muse is a really dark character, which is why I'm a little upset, but I'll get into that in a second. But he painted all these things about how Kingpin's not, he's not real, he's actually a bad guy, and giving kind of support to the vigilantes with a memorial kind of painting of White Tiger and something about Frank Castle or Punisher. So he respects those characters, people who wear masks versus people who say they're good and they're not, like Kingpin. And the way he goes about it is really messed up. In the comics, he's drained people of their blood, he's hung people in different artistic poses, dead corpses basically, and used their blood as paint for his artwork. And there's a lot of mystery behind the character of Muse in the comics, where we don't really know his real name, we don't know where he came from, we know that he is an Inhuman, he has certain abilities. Speaking of the amulet with White Tiger, abilities. I was really hoping that they would double down on that, or at least acknowledge the fact that Muse has abilities, but in this case, he was just a crazed lunatic who killed people for his art, which it's kind of a throwaway thing because there's so much about Muse that I would have loved to see, and love Daredevil and Muse kind of really go at it and go head to head and find more of a deeper meaning behind their conflict, versus the fact that Muse just wants to be seen and he's a really troubled kid. I got more kid vibes than he's a grown man who's having mental problems. And also the fact that he is a master in Taekwondo, which is like a random thing to just throw in there. You just, okay, so we put that in there so that he can actually fight Daredevil, kind of. I don't know. There was a lot of mysticism behind it. Like even the very first episode when we see the guy painting the wall and the hooded figure, and slowly but surely we see more and more of this character. We eventually see his face and hear his voice. But then he gets shot by Heather Glenn, and that's the end. I mean, maybe, question mark, because there has been word about him showing up in season 2. He's kind of been on the roster along with somebody else that I'll talk about in a moment. But so I don't know how they're going to swing that, because I think in the comics he actually does die but come back somehow. And his abilities, it's a perfect antithesis to Daredevil's abilities, because Daredevil, as you know, has heightened senses. Sight, not sight, the only one he doesn't have. Sight, but smell, taste, feel, all that. With Muse, his ability is basically negating those senses. So it makes him hard for Daredevil to track. That's the whole thing. So Daredevil really can't find this guy. He's basically an invisible ghost to him because he can't see him. So there's that, and so we didn't get that at all. But yeah, really disappointed. I think there was episode 6? Really disappointed with Muse kind of coming to an end. Hoping that there's more to him. Don't know how they're gonna swing that with the next season, but I digress. It's just, I was really hoping for more, especially with how much they teased Muse in the trailers. And the fact that, again, thinking back on it, don't really think that he had a whole lot of weight. Sure, it got people scared in the city, and they gave Fisk more of a hero complex to be the guy to take him down, and then more support followed behind him. So that makes sense as far as Fisk's journey in the show, but I don't know, I was really hoping for more from you, so thumbs down on that part. Now, another thing that separates this from the Netflix series is the BP report. As minor a detail as that seems, that kind of gave the city of New York its own character in a sense. Hearing from the people that are walking the streets and getting their opinions on, whether they think vigilantes are good or bad, or whether Fisk is the right guy for the job, or were crazy to have put a guy who ran crime in office to run the city. So a lot of that, but also just different shots, during different transitions of the show, different, switching to a different part of the show, different area, different characters. The transitions of just shots of the city was really unique. And again, hearing the opinions of the people gives the city more of a life, more of it's not just there, it's not just background, it's a living, breathing thing, the city of New York. In Hell's Kitchen more specifically. There was one unique episode that I really enjoyed. It kind of, in a way, there's really nothing that grounded this one or connected this one to other episodes throughout the story of the first season, but it was the bank episode. I forgot what it was called, but that episode was self-contained. We didn't really have to know much of what was going on outside of that, but we got to see kind of Matt's journey at the middle point where he's slowly but surely coming back to his senses as Daredevil. And we also get a cameo from Miss Marvel, Miss Marvel's dad, Yusuf Khan. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'll put it on the screen somewhere, but we get a cameo from him, which was a really interesting thing. Again, connecting this lived-in universe with other characters from other movies or shows. So that was an interesting take, and also just the dynamic of it. The fact that it's all within this area. It's kind of a hostage situation with people trying to negotiate outside with the cops. And got to see different instances of Matt's abilities. We got to kind of see that in more detail here, where especially playing up the blind lawyer, where he's very unsuspecting. You wouldn't think that a blind man could whoop your ass in a sense. So the fight scenes in that were really cool. I like that moment where Matt's being led downstairs or down to the bathroom or something. I think he's being led down to the banker, Yusuf. And the music cuts out and it's just silence and the sounds of impacts being made from Matt to the bank robber. And the fact that Matt can hear the gun, just wanted to make noise or go off, so he catches it with his foot. And the fact that he uses a stair to get leverage and punch him. So that whole scene was really good. And also the fact that he helps open the vault. There you go. This bank vault apparently has like 100,000 combinations, and they need two people to help open it or need a specific key, but Matt is able to use his abilities to hear the tumbler inside the door and open it. I really enjoyed the novelty of this episode. It was simple, it was a simple premise, it was linear, even though not connected to the actual story, not really, but it was really cool. And then seeing Daredevil, of course, grabbing the red burglar's mask and then completely wrecking the guy, smashing his face in a pile of glass and severely breaking the guy's leg, making the knee go the opposite direction. So that was really cool to see as well, and just a few instances of him fighting. So that bank scene was probably one of my favorites. On top of that, the other episode I really thought was cool as far as fight choreography was concerned was when Daredevil's back finally in the suit again after kind of coming back to his senses, realizing that the city needs a hero, needs the Daredevil. And he tracks down Muse because he's now kidnapped Ayala and he's getting ready to drain her blood and start painting God knows what. And he makes an appearance. And a few moments or a few scenes in that fight scene, you could tell was CGI'd. And I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I have a feeling of how I feel about it. I don't like it. I don't think I like it very much. I mean, it's cool, but coming from a place where, everything was pretty much practical with stunts, choreography, things like that, and then you incorporate CGI, you can feel it, you notice it, and it's a little bit distracting, kind of takes me out of it a bit. Normally, I'm not a big stickler for, whether CGI is in it or not in a show or movie, and I accept it just as is, because I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, to make this make sense, we need CGI, sure, whatever. But in this show, it took me out of it for like a half a sec, where I saw it, I noticed it, I don't know, it took me out of the immersion of the show a little bit. Anyway, we get that fight scene where as Daredevil is fighting Muse, with a really good fight scene, actually, probably one of the best in this season. We also get Fisk, who has tracked down Adam, the guy that Vanessa cheated on him with, this other artist. And that was another thing too. With the duality being the theme of this season, with Matt and Fisk returning to their true selves, they're both also fighting artists, which is really interesting. They're both fighting artists who the city. Oh, that's another thing, actually. I just now thought of this. With Daredevil being the hero who wants to protect his city, and Fisk being the person who wants to protect Vanessa, Muse is threatening the city. He's abusing it. He's tainting it with his dark art. While Adam was basically tainting Vanessa in a sense while Fisk was gone. The fact that there are two people that both characters want to protect, and both of them happen to be artists, and I just thought that was interesting. While they're both fighting at the same time, defeating someone who is threatening things that they love, things that they care about, that had to be intentional. I love the artistry behind that, and I thought that was really cool. Now let's talk about our boy, Frank Castle. Punisher is in Daredevil Born Again, and we're all we're all excited to see our boy Frank again, because, I mean, honestly, my wife and I, we watched Punisher season 1 and 2 I think a month or so before Daredevil Born Again actually came out, and she really loved it. She really enjoyed those, and I think she actually likes Frank more than Matt now, so that's something too. Yeah, we got that going. But yeah, seeing Frank again, knowing that he's a part of this as well, because Jon Bernthal does a great job of the Punisher. I know we only have gotten like, I think 2 or maybe 3 iterations of the Punisher in live action, and Jon Bernthal by a long shot is the best out of all of them. Like he nails the character. You get that army militaristic personality, that persona, the fact that I don't give a you know what, and he was terribly and awfully damaged because of the death of his family, and that has scarred him, and he embraces that scarring very, very well and portrays that in the character of Frank Castle, and I just love his performance. Glad to see him, and we didn't really see him back in action until the season finale where he came back. But although we didn't get a whole lot of him, I'm glad they didn't spoil us with him, because that would have taken away the specialty of, or the novelty rather, of having Punisher in the show. And it's not his show, so I'm glad they didn't overdo it with him being in it. I've mentioned this a couple times already between the comparison of Netflix and Disney Plus with Daredevil, the character of Daredevil. And I gotta say, and again, as I'm talking about this, I'm also thinking about other things too as they come to me. The duration of the episodes. And also the fact that Daredevil Born Again was rewritten, like, I don't know, like halfway through, somewhere towards the midpoint of this being done or in production. It was rewritten because the direction it was headed was not what the fans want. It was more of like a courtroom drama / comedy. It was supposed to be more comical, which I don't know what they were smoking to come to that conclusion, think that was a good idea. So I'm glad they scrapped that and started almost from scratch. And in a few shots in the episode, you can tell that things are shot differently or things were edited in post. But something I've noticed is the duration, the runtime for each episode. They varied between, I think one was like 42 minutes, others are near to an hour, whereas the Netflix series, they were almost all an hour. All of the episodes were about an hour. So there was more time for the episodes to breathe and be fleshed out, versus where I'm watching an episode and a scene is finishing up and then the credits are rolling. I'm like, whoa, we're done already? It's only been like, you know? So I feel like because of that, and also the post-editing stuff, or the editing and post, and the things that they have to change and add in or take out, that messed with the flow for me, whereas the Netflix series, it was more straight across the board. It was smoother. It didn't feel like it was rough around the edges at certain points. Granted, there were certain episodes that were not like very high impact, but they were still interesting because it was story building, and the story building made sense. Not saying that Born Again didn't make sense, but the way in which it was done, it just felt, the Netflix felt more put together, and it just made more sense while watching this. I had a few questions, or I kind of head tilt a little bit, like, that's an interesting take. I don't know. It's been years, and I know they're doing something different. They want to make it more new and fresh, so I respect that. But I'm just saying my thoughts on the comparison between the Netflix series and Disney Plus, and the fact that I feel like because of what happened in production and getting this put out, it messed with the formula or the format of what we came from with the Netflix. And then the season finale, wrapping up with this, I don't really know. I mean, when it finished up, when it wrapped up, I was kind of left wanting more, which I guess is what you should be feeling on a very big cliffhanger like the one we got here. But I feel like I wasn't fully satisfied, and I have to wait a whole year before we get the next one. I'm not saying it was a bad episode. I still enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Probably the greatest one of the greatest ones in the season, the whole season. Very intense. Speaking of which, Kingpin, I guess, like the one take, the hallway scene with Matt, we get the Kingpin shots of him just brutally messing up a guy. We got the one in season 1, I think it was season 1, where he basically beheaded a guy with a car door. And in this one, a lot more graphic, where he literally crushes that commissioner's head like a freaking watermelon. So my jaw was on the floor when I saw that. I was just like, whoa, Disney Plus, you're just coming out like that. That's cool. Wow. It was really intense. But that's Kingpin. He goes the extra mile to make a point, and no one wants to mess with him after the fact. So that was, it was good. Him crushing a head was good. I don't know. I like the emotion that it evoked when I saw it. I was like, whoa, very intense. And it was mentioned that it would be intense. So there's that. But the episode as a whole, with Daredevil coming back, he's wounded, so he's not ready to go up against all of the militia that Kingpin has gathered up and established, his task force to save Frank. And Frank is captured. He's in a cage, which we all knew he wasn't going to stay there for too long, according to the end credit scene, which that's in pure Frank fashion. We were expecting that. And I think that leads into his movie or his Marvel special thing that's coming out. I don't remember. Is that next year? I think it's next year. I'll look that up. But we have that to look forward to, so that's cool. Leaves that open. The city is now basically under Fisk's thumb. He is basically the Kingpin as mayor now. He's no longer just simply Wilson Fisk. He is the Kingpin. He's wearing the white getup, the white suit. The city's in disarray. Everything's out of control. Daredevil has now come out in front of, Karen Page is there and other cops that know Matt but don't know that Matt is Murdock, except for Cherry, that one cop or PI or detective, whoever. So he's basically, and he also said, right before he attempts to storm the castle where Frank is being held, he realizes that he can't do this alone, that he needs to assemble an army of his own, because that's what Fisk did. So I guess this group of people is said army. On top of what we hope to see more of is the Defenders coming back. We've heard word about them potentially coming back, but kind of not for sure. I think Jessica Jones is a shoo-in for it. She's definitely coming back. Not sure on Mike Coulter, I think is his name, the guy who plays Luke Cage, and then good old Iron Fist, everybody's favorite Defender. He may be coming back too, which would really be cool, and again, really emphasize the fact that this is a universe where all these people exist. And I know we got that with Defenders, and not a whole lot of people enjoyed it or liked it. It was cool for its moments, but it'd be cool to see what Disney Plus does with this. Hopefully they do it justice and do it well. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. If I wanted to rate it, TWIP scale, I'm gonna give this a 3.5 out of 5 TWIPs. Because again, I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. 3.5 is a good score, but it was different to the point where I squinted at it and I didn't really understand or like what they did with certain characters, Muse being one of them. I don't really respect what they decided to do with him. I'm leaving room for hope that they're gonna actually do that character justice in some way and kind of revitalize him. And also, Foggy. Good old Foggy. I don't think he's dead. And because of that, there are a few hits or Easter eggs that you've probably seen online or on social media so there's a number on the plaque of their law firm that is potentially an issue number of where Foggy was supposedly dead, but was kept in witness protection because someone was trying to kill him. So there's that theory. And also, like I said, Foggy is on the roster for season 2. So prayers for Foggy, hoping that he's still alive, that we get to see him again, because we only got a few minutes of him and then he was shot. He's a great character and I love the interpretation of Foggy Nelson with the actor. I think he does a great job and I want to see more of him. But anyway, that's all I got for Daredevil Born Again. I really enjoyed it. And again, I gave it, a 3.5 out of 5 TWIPs, really enjoyed it, but I think it could have been done better and it took a little bit away from what we remember from the Netflix series. Hoping they kind of catch themselves on either mistakes or different choices that they made in this, making it better for season 2. So what were your guys' thoughts on Daredevil Born Again? I want to hear them down in the comments below. And thanks again for joining me for today's video. I am Spidey Trainer, and on your way out, remember to click the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for more notifications on whatever video I have coming up next. And until next time, stay amazing.